All
I
right,
think we're
here we
live.
go. Hello and welcome to another episode of VR Download, a weekly show broadcast live from Upload Virtual Studios. We are here. We're in the two-seater studio today because it's just me, your host, Kyle, along with over here to my left.
Hello, everyone. Ian Hamilton here. I'm trying to figure out, can I take control of the camera away? I've been recently taught that I can take the control of the camera away if I press secret keyboard commands, and I plan to use that power this hour.
Yeah. In case I'm doing goofy things with my hands and you don't want everybody to see it. That's because we are doing hand tracking here. Hey, cool. Look, you're you again this week.
Oh
And
yes,
I'm me.
Facebook is in existence. It was down for what was it, half a day or something like that.
Felt like a week.
And yeah, we lost our avatars. We went to those blank avatars, and now we're back. And obviously, whenever you're listening to this, if you're listening to this in podcast form, gosh, the news is going to be moving rapidly this time of year. So if some of the things we talk about are dated, that can clearly happen because things are happening parallel even to our recording of this podcast.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, especially the podcast folks didn't get to experience the wonders of our blank avatars last week, and that was but you got to hear us talking about it. But like Ian was saying, the news this time of year, man, it's like quick.
Ooh, that was cool.
Quick. Yeah, I thought so.
I think that's getting improved. Yeah.
Yeah.
It still misses the clapping, but
that's okay. But that's because you're the melding of hands. It's just that's the tracking limitations. It's putting two things together like that. So, all right. As usual, I want to say hello to some of the folks in our live chat because if you do join our show live on Mondays at noon Pacific, see Heaney, I got her. Oh no, Heaney's not here. Heaney's off on a secret assignment. Top secret assignment right now. So that'll come down the road someday soon. So who do we have here? Robert Quinones, hello. Indie Soul, show enough. Alexander, Daniel, Sampler 19, Onakazi, hello. I like to see regulars here. Paradise Decay, very cool. And hey, let your friends know that this is a fun place to be on Mondays, noon Pacific, because this is where all the cool people are. Sexy bicycle, hello, what is up, dudes? Indeed. Yes. And Isaiah and Hussein and MX Morningstar, yes, hello. Try spell my name, Powell Kurzowski. See, I think I did pretty good there. I think that's pretty good. So hey, and Artful and John and GT, hello to all. Yes, we've got some fun stuff for today and this week. And
let's start off with that first subject. I'm ready to fight some 360 video people.
Oh man, okay. All right. See, this is a subject that I've been waiting for our site to delve into. We've talked about this numerous times, and I guess maybe it's time that we start talking. So our first news of the day today: Canon photography people, take heed. Canon made a $2,000 lens for shooting 3D VR video. Canon will start shipping a dual fisheye lens with an estimated retail price of $1,999 that can shoot 3D 180 degrees video when paired up with the EOS R5 camera. Now, are you a photography nut as I am, Ian?
I have been in the past. I sold all my equipment to focus on phone photography because it's the camera that's with me all the time.
Yeah, right. I know exactly. I was a photog, as they call them, not the He-Man character that never came into fruition. Look it up. Photog. I was in the Team Canon world, not Nikon, not Sony. But I actually even did wedding photography professionally for a few years. I don't recommend that at all. Man, Team Canon, though, the EOS series of digital cameras is totally awesome. The R5 This is a $4,000 piece of kit, just the body, not the lens. It's $5,000 with their standard lens. If you want to go out to a B&H video or whatever, B&H photo, this lens does 100. Was it 100? It's almost 190 degrees 3D fisheye at a 60 millimeter IPD. So sort of on the low end of average. Are we going to start covering content creation hardware? Because this is just one of many pieces of hardware out there that can make this type of content. Ian, are we delving in now to this?
Well, no, I think it's an exception because of the Canon brand being such, everything you let off with there. That camera system, the interchangeable lens systems that Canon and Nikon have like almost a duopoly on, of just like professional creators for competing for these incredible lenses to take photos you can't reasonably take with any other method. Super telephoto lenses, super wide angles that are incredible to look at. Those are the things you can attach to any of these Canon or Nikon cameras. And so, like, having a lens that you can attach to a Canon camera and instantly transform it into a VR camera is an interesting prospect for the year 2018, in my opinion. But 2021, 2022, I'm really curious to see how many of these lenses they actually sell, and how that compares to kind of like their regular lenses, and how those are selling these days with the rise of so many other ways of taking a pretty picture.
So there's a couple things to parse there. Number one, you said a VR camera. You actually said that term,
I know.
VR camera.
I went out there on the limb and said it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
It's a tough conversation to have, because there are people that will and have for years said 3D 180 or 3D 160 video is not VR, because you are in a 3DOF situation, a 3 degree of freedom situation. You cannot get up and move around in it. So really the argument is, the debate, I don't want to say argument, the debate is whether or not 3DOF headsets, 3DOF content is actually VR. And it might actually flow into one of our other news topics later. I like the idea of calling this a VR camera or a VR photography piece of equipment, because I think I am in the team that believes that 3D 180, 3D 160 video content is VR. I'm okay with that being considered VR. But then you also made the comment of, well, I have a phone in my pocket that can take pictures all the time that are just as good a quality, and I could maybe even do stereo with some of these pieces of equipment and take a 3D photo with some of these pieces of equipment in our phones. Why are we covering this?
Well, yeah, 3D stereoscopic and sort of the stabilized video you can get out of a phone are two different things. There is an added benefit of getting stereoscopic wide angle. Like, that is nice video when it is done well. The problem is it's hard to do well. This has it has a very nice focus range, so it can focus on things that are pretty close up to the lens, relatively speaking. But I'm really curious to see, like, it's an oddity almost to see this kind of camera released this year, in my opinion. Like, that's to your point of like what these things came and went in large numbers 2 to 3 years ago, and they did not really sell well, and there wasn't really demand for content made in this format, except I will say there's a handful of high-end photographers who could do some really cool work with this type of camera system. But like Google did those VR 180 cameras. There was the Lenovo one, And if you just set that camera down on a table and try to take a video with it, it could be pretty uncomfortable because the table is like where your face is going to end up being as the camera person. It ends up being a pretty challenging thing to take good video with these types of camera systems. And so it might have kind of like a nice fit with the Canon photographer, like with the professional photographer with who might want this kind of lens for their camera system. But it's really curious. We have seen kind of like everything from a couple $100 to $30,000 plus camera
Yeah.
systems for so-called VR video capture over the years, and none of them have really caught on. It's just an oddity in itself that Canon would come out with this in the year 2021, almost 2022.
Has it really not caught on? I mean, are we actually saying that this isn't a technology that's being used mainstream? Because I feel like there is, and trying to keep this very delicate and very PG. Uh, I believe that there is a wide variety of usage for this sort of hardware for entertainment purposes, for those of you who consume that form of entertainment where 360 or 180 stereo may be advantageous. Now, to give an example that we can discuss, we have talked many a times with Heaney in regards to putting an audience in our studio, an audience in our studio that would be able to consume our show with VR in mind, sitting in a seat watching us do this show in VR. Now, you will not be able to get up and walk around. Therefore, it will be a 3 degree of freedom experience that you will be able to sit in the studio and consume this while we record it in VR. Uh, for those of you who are making the argument that 3DOF is not VR and stereo 360 video is not VR, would you then be consuming a VR experience if
Hmm.
you were sitting in our studio right now? I'm asking that question to provoke thought because I don't really think that any one side of this debate is right or wrong. I think that there's valid arguments on both sides, but I am curious if that convinces folks. If they know that this is a VR produced show, if you're consuming it by means of 360 3D video, 3DOF, not being able to move, is it VR enough for you to call it VR?
It's an interesting question of what
Yeah.
people will pay for and what they will seek out on a regular basis, and like what they get out of it. So watching the show from a fixed perspective is not the same as like raising your hand with a question. And that's kind of like the gap between 3DOF video and fully interactive virtual reality that's so compelling to so many people these days. So if you're able to sit there and kind of like feel like you're in the studio, that's cool. But being able to raise your hand and ask a question or enter the conversation with us is a completely different thing. And if I think there's platforms maybe that are in between those two things, those two experiences of like being able to interact from a 2D screen to a VR experience is what a lot of people are doing with us right now, just via the text box chat at the end of the YouTube live stream. But like, what do they get out of actually coming into the studio with us? And I've described it out pretty well, and that's not what is captured by this format. Like, you lose the interactivity. So there's a lot of benefit to it, but you're still coming up short on some of those most compelling things that VR really offers. So it becomes a question of like, uh, I don't know. What I imagine there would be an audience that would want to feel like they're sitting in our studio, for example. But I think people would be willing to pay more, or pay more to come and actually have that hand raising experience. Whereas I don't think they'd want to pay necessarily for just feeling like they're sitting in our studio.
This is a like we mentioned earlier, a $4,000 to $5,000 camera base, just the body, and then the lens itself is $2,000. This is not. I would not even consider this to be prosumer. The prosumer is about $2,000 overall. I think 1,500 for the body and maybe another 500 for a night. That under $2,000 is what I personally consider prosumer. This is definitely higher than prosumer. They expect professionals to purchase this kit, this setup. They're not going to expect Joe Public to go buy this and produce content. This is definitely for pros. So now I wonder, we've had the coming and going of 3D TV. May it rest in peace. But 3D movies is still a thing. Things are still being shot in those weird 24 frame per second stereo 48 interpolated blah blah blah. Is this maybe going to be that go between that's going to bring more people into 3D movie to make it more mainstream, to give us more content to consume? Because it really is a passive experience, like you were saying about raising your hand and say, oh, I have a question, I want to interact. Does it have to be interactive for it to be considered true VR? Another question that doesn't have an answer, kind of rhetorical there, but think about that. Does it have to be interactive for it to be VR? And I think everybody has a different opinion on that.
Mm. It's so tricky. Like, I always think of baseball, MLB at bat, as like the perfect example of this cutting edge technology group that's trying to kind of like um show baseball in whatever format you want to consume it. And so, like, if you're a hardcore baseball fan, you can watch the live in get play by play version of the game and see the runners kind of like moving from base to base in a very uh, detailed way. And it's not too many steps far beyond like having a full like rendered video game version of a game that like just does exactly what the players are doing, repeated back maybe 30 seconds behind what the live television is doing. Like, why couldn't you have a MLB baseball game for PlayStation come out and just replay everything basically live that's happening up on the TV screen, and it'll still look very much like the actual game. You'll get some little details wrong. You won't see little things that the players are doing exactly matching what they're doing on the screen, but you could still sort of like put on a VR headset and watch a VR rendered version of that game play out. There's just such a gap. There's a lot of like Next VR is, I think, they were purchased, weren't they? Their streaming service. They did such a great job with their live streaming technology. And then there's Felix and Paul that does an incredible job with things like Cirque du Soleil captures,
Mm-hmm.
to kind of put you in the front row of a Cirque du Soleil event. And there's those handfuls of examples of content creators doing amazing things with 3D 360 video. It's just, I'm curious, for example, what nature photography looks like when captured with this camera system. If you could really do a great job with some nature captures, I think this might be a good fit for that. But that's dozens or hundreds of photographers, not like the kind of camera systems that they're trying to build into the Ray-Ban sunglasses, where they're trying to get those out to tens of millions of people. And the types of videos that come out of like the Ray-Bans are these super stabilized, super wide angle videos that really take you inside the viewpoint of someone. Um, I'm curious to see sort of whether glasses based photography stays ahead of SLR photography, um, and sort of those wide angle 3D captures. Like, I don't know. I'd be curious to see what happens with uh, both phones and glasses over the next few years, and what that does to the interchangeable lens system. I don't know. Are we still going to have interchangeable lenses a decade or two from now? Like, is that going to be a prosumer market, even as it is today? Like, is it going to be as large or larger than it is today, or is it going to be even smaller? I don't know.
Those are all very good questions, and we really don't know. I mean, you mentioned the whole idea of stabilization. I remember in the early days of VR, the 360 video, if they moved the camera at all, it would induce some uncomfortability with some folks, where it would create some level of nausea, because the proprioception, the confusion of the brain that you're moving but you're not moving, it can cause some problems. And so I feel like this type of setup here, it really is asking to be on a really sturdy tripod, not moving. And it's a toughie. One of the best practices that came out early on is you do not take somebody's head and move it around. You do not move somebody's head. You let them move their head. And with 3DOF VR, if you want to call it that, you can't move your head. And so moving it for them is very unsettling to some people. Now
So
you get used to it, in my opinion, but that not everybody does.
one of the things definitely to note here, just for people catching up on this camera system, so it's called the Canon RF5 2mm f2.8 L dual fisheye lens. $2,000, supposed to arrive in late December, but it's going to come with a subscription-based software utility and an Adobe Premiere Pro plugin, quote, for completing the post-production process. And Canon says it will also offer free trial periods for that software. And there will be a way to do some of these things for free if, like, you only process a clip that's a certain length. It's kind of like you have to do a subscription if you want to edit quite a bit of footage. I will be the really neat thing about this video format that I'm really curious if it catches on is that stabilization technology. Like, can you crop a great 16 by 9 video out of a larger uh, wide field of view image? And how does that look over time? Like, does it look cool if you're doing certain types of photography with it? I'm curious, like, Facebook, Apple, Google are in this race where they're doing just unbelievable amounts of processing of photography, both on local devices and in the cloud. And I'm convinced, and been convinced that for a long time, that there's a format that captures, lets you move your head around a little bit, but kind of uh, lets you see a 3D scene in front of you and lets you lean around it, but kind of fills in the gaps for you computationally, while not like um, you can't break it completely. You couldn't walk around behind your image and have it work, but maybe you could lean around a little bit and not be so stuck in place. But like, it's a bummer that you have to use Canon software as a subscription to get stuff out of this. But it might be possible to do some really neat things with that software. I'll be curious to see what happens with it.
I have a feeling that the fact that the software exists is because of their specific target audience for this product. I think that the target audience wants the Canon plugin, wants the Canon stuff. But yeah, you are right, Ian. If I had to choose a format, I would say 3D 180, where I am not a 3D 180 wrapped around me, a half dome, where I can move a certain amount of just movement, just slightly, not a lot. Like, there's a small dome inside that I'm allowed to move around in, so that way it's not fixed to my head. I think that is the sweet spot, in my opinion. So I'll be curious to see if we see like a resurgence. I have a whole bunch of stereo and monoscopic 360 180 cameras just chilling in my VR dungeon right now, collecting dust. Should I clean the lenses and start making some content? Maybe we
Yeah.
can start No? Yeah.
No,
Okay.
we're good.
Okay. I did a really nice one of I set a stereo 360 camera in the middle of a Monopoly board and played Monopoly with my family. That was intriguing. Of course, how many times is somebody going to want to spin around in their chair to look and see whose turn is it? Who owns Boardwalk? Who owns Park Place? Yeah, I don't know. The usage is very specific right now to certain industries. We'll see. We'll see. We don't know. We don't know. We don't know. Hey, what do you think? Should we move on?
Yep.
All right. Next piece of news. Lynx AR VR headset Kickstarter launches with a $500 price, sort of. French startup Lynx just launched a Kickstarter campaign for its upcoming standalone AR VR hybrid headset. Yeah, so I jumped on and got myself one. And then being in the US, and they had some VAT, which is tax stuff that they had to kind of go back and finagle a little bit their different tiers, and for those of us who do not have to pay the EU taxes, but they got it all squared away. And after adding the controllers, which were individual, and requesting a wonderful T-shirt, because I love my T-shirts. Send me T-shirts, please. I love T-shirts with your brand on it. I'll wear them. I don't know. Are you excited for this headset, Ian? Or are we?
I need to try it on. It
Yeah.
wasn't. So I'm waiting. I actually backed the VR ears, and I'm waiting on them from way back whenever I backed them a long time ago, and it was delayed, and didn't have the available funds to make a bet on this one, whether they could make it. So Kyle, as someone who got on there and kickstarted this, when did they say they're going to ship it to you, and when do you think they'll actually ship it to you?
April of next year, and I'm optimistic about it. That April would actually occur. Just to answer a quick question, Sampler 19, did you get the transparent model, Kyle? No, I did not, because I lived through that era where transparent phones were all cool and awesome, and I had one, and I'm just past that now. I like the clean design of it being opaque. I don't need to see inside of things. No, so yeah, I'm pretty bullish on this. I think I got because I am a bespectacled individual. If my glasses aren't disappearing in this episode, I wanted to make sure I had the little foam covering thing, and it flips up, and that's all nice and cool. I'm pretty optimistic that this will come out April of next year. I don't see any reason why there wouldn't be. They've shown that they have components calibrated. They even had the clear ones. I'm not really certain about the price difference on the clear one versus the opaque black one. I couldn't really justify that. So yeah, I think it's a fun little thing to be waiting on. Hardware Kickstarters in the VR scene have been hit or miss. Sometimes you get them, sometimes you don't. But that's Kickstarter, right? I mean, you don't know. You're hopeful, but it might not actually happen. It happens.
And for the record, for everyone, at the time of this recording, it is going to basically, it has 800 backers almost at the time of this recording, and that has gotten them to 525,000, so $500,000, and that's more than $200,000. Like, it's coming up on $200,000 more than their original goal. So they funded in just a matter of hours when they actually launched, and they'll be finishing fundraising on November 8th of 2021. So there's a lot of room for them to raise above their initial goal, and it'll be curious to see kind of how many headsets they end up with having to deliver on this time frame that you're sort of optimistic about.
Yeah, well, and the other thing too is I got in. I hope I did got in early enough that if they do it based on the listing of who ordered what and when, a logical order of when they ship them out. They can't all be shipped out at once. I can't expect that. But if it's April, if it's May, if it's June, I mean, I've been through this before, so I'm okay with delays
Of what year?
of next year.
Okay.
I still think that it could come out easily April, May next year. Yeah, and the more money they raise, the more likely that they'll be able to tackle some of the logistical stuff. That's probably going to be the biggest challenge. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm seeing someone in the comments,
Components,
Chris
Yeah.
mentioning Tilt 5, talking about not taking another plunge into AR without sort of that device arriving for them. Yeah, I think that's a really great example of like a group that had been through uh, not every conceivable issue with production and kickstarting products prior to actually launching Tilt 5, but like they went through a ton of different, real life experience
Mm-hmm.
developing and trying to ship consumer AR hardware prior to launching Tilt 5, launched Tilt 5, and then the most insane, like unexpected a pandemic and a chip shortage hit kind
Yep.
of back to back. And like it's just kind of startling to me, all these different products coming out in such a short, or being announced in such a short span of time. I'm really curious to see how many of them kind of actually can deliver on their goals over the next year and a half, given all the
Yeah.
unexpected things that have happened and all the unexpected things that could still happen.
Well, and the thing with Tilt 5 is deciding who their target audience is and what they wanted to deliver. Cast AR uh, came and went, evolved, went into a cocoon, came out, Tilt 5. And I have actually put that unit, that kit on my head, and I've experienced it myself. It knows who our audience is now. The tabletop experience, it does that very well. I think that I don't think that I am specifically the target audience for that headset because I'm not really a tabletop gamer. Big surprise to everybody, I'm sure. But I don't know. I feel like this is a little bit different of a category than the Tilt 5. But yes, they are going to experience the same issues of where's my components? Where's my chips? Where's my shipping container stuck in a dock, outside of California? I mean, what are going to be the things that are going to cause issues for Lynx, especially for those of us in the U.S. who they're in France, so I mean, it's not like it's in Arkansas or something where it's easy to just drive over and pick it up. I don't know. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm curious. I like seeing the back and forth about the Lynx, and some people are optimistic, some people are pessimistic. Is this going to be another headset to just throw into the corner and let it collect dust, or is it going to be a daily driver, or is it going to offer something that is intriguing enough that I want to use it more often than the headset that I have on my head right now? I
You
don't
know,
know.
I mean, maybe I'm just like putting my stock in something that's like a pipe dream, or like I don't know if it's actually going to happen, but like I'm curious about this moment when we have kind of like a piece of content that's OpenXR ready and runs on a Quest and something like this. And it's like a must-have experience between two different standalone or sort of like portable, at least, systems. Like I, I don't know if like maybe like something you keep in your pocket, a pocket compute puck, or phone powered VR experience could be considered a standalone. But all in two is, I think, the term HTC used at one
All
point.
in two,
But
yeah.
like if you can have one piece of software run on both of these types of headsets and have a multiplayer experience between them. And it's an OpenXR based app that can kind of run on multiple things, isn't tied to a specific storefront. I'm curious to see what happens when we reach that moment in the market. If we actually see a proof of concept of something that's like must have in a standalone space and runs on multiple headsets in that way, is it going to show people that there's like ways to build for these platforms that don't require Facebook to have some of the best experiences? Because that's again and again, I think what we're seeing is Facebook demonstrating that the best experience, many of the best experiences are on its headsets, standalone, or you can connect to a PC and have other great experiences from the PC. And I think of Space Pirate Trainer Arena as this amazing experience, but right now the only headset you can do it with is an Oculus Quest. Um, when will we see that moment when you can do really, really awesome things? Like with this in particular, like I don't know, a zombie game where you have like ghosts or zombies in the room with you, chasing you around, and you and a couple other people. Like, could you have someone in another headset, or could you have a multiplayer game with this and have it run on not just this headset but another headset?
Well,
I don't know.
using Space Pirate Arena as the reason why you're stuck with the Quest if you want to do that type of experience. There are quite a number. There's a huge community of people who are perfectly content with not having a Facebook headset and are enjoying VR to their own degree of their what they consider to be successful acceptability of VR experiences tethered to a computer or tethered to a little puck or tethered to their phone. I agree with you, Ian, that I think that there is a lot of room for exploration of more hardware that can bring these other experiences like Space Pirate Arena. I'm really curious to see how this headset handles that. I'm curious to see how other headsets that we may or may not discuss, if that's even a viable option to have that. But the whole idea of having to rely on Facebook for the best VR experiences, I think there's quite a number of people out there that can make a valid argument that that is not
Mm.
the truth. But
Well,
yeah.
I think Facebook is. What I'm saying is, I think that's Facebook's strategy. I'm not saying that they're successful. I think VR chat is off of Facebook's platform and provides the only experience plenty of people want. But still, I'd be curious if you looked at the stats. Are the majority of people who are enjoying VR chat doing so through a Facebook brand headset? I would expect that
Hmm.
maybe to be the case. So it's like it's almost inescapable, um, from depending on which layer you're discussing, somehow using a Facebook technology to have some of your favorite VR experiences.
Facebook's strategy is brilliant because it lowers the barrier of entry by making it easy to get in. Mainstream consumer adoption of VR requires ease and inexpensive hardware. And Facebook is offering that. We can't fault them for doing the thing that's making VR more mainstream. I mean,
So
nobody can deny the fact that Facebook has definitely contributed to making VR mainstream. Uh,
people
yeah.
people are talking about Deckard. The rumors we've heard about Valve developing a proof of concept um, answer to the Quest as a standalone. And I think of that device, and I have to think uh, that it is the ultimate. Like, if I was Valve, Space Pirate Trainer Arena would be the thing I would throw at Deckard to prove the concept out.
Mhm.
If you have that game running on whatever Valve has built, that's something that I think any employee at Valve would look at and go, "Yeah, okay, we're gonna make our stuff for that. Like, this is compelling. This is awesome. This is what VR should be. Let's actually get behind this as a company and build out a VR headset that's a standalone." But yeah, I would throw that specific game. I consider that to be the watermark right now for the next generation of what VR can handle. Then you start looking at other things like Saints and Sinners and Boneworks and Half-Life Alyx, and seeing how much of those experiences are runnable on a mobile chip.
Yeah, I mean, performance-wise, Space Pirate Arena is not a very intense game in terms of processing power needed. Obviously the network stack is a whole nother subject, but I think that for the ability to put a Deckard headset or a Lynx headset into the same genre as the Quest, you're right. I think Space Pirate Arena would definitely do that. I want to address something Onakazi says here, and of course it scrolled as I went to go read it. Onakazi says, yes, what about Future X headset that will blow this away? Let's pontificate about something that has no set timeline or price. This is something that I actually have this discussion every once in a while online. And yes, those of us who have been in the industry long enough know what features are necessary to push these headsets to the next generation, the next iteration, the next evolution. Those things will happen. Processors get smaller and take less battery power. And yes, there are very obvious things I have said numerous times that someday they'll just look like glasses, just like this, and they won't feel any different than glasses, and they'll do all the wonderful things someday. Future product X, future headset X, Onakazi, yes, there will always be. But what we're looking for when we talk about these headsets is how are they pushing it forward? What are they adding new to it? Lynx offers a few things that I haven't seen in other headsets. Deckard, if it exists, if it's a real thing, gives me things that other headsets don't. Gives me use cases that other headsets don't. So yes, I'm naturally going to buy all the iterations so that way I can continue to see the path forward to this future product that we haven't seen yet that'll look just like these on my head on my avatar right now.
Yeah, so I don't know if this comment is talking about that, but we did talk about the Ray-Ban sunglasses for such a long time because they introduced a new behavior into my brain, where I literally thought to myself, "Hey, Facebook, take a video." And I didn't actually have any hardware on my head at the time that I thought that. And that's what some of these devices are about testing, is what does it look like in a future where you don't actually need uh, you need less and less hardware actually on your body, or less and less weight strapped to your body in order to actually capture perspective or augment your view, or even take you to another world. We are eventually going to get there, but like we got so hung up on varifocal displays in these first few years of VR because uh, it's one of these things that nobody has really experienced yet. And one of the other things that nobody has experienced is like haptics that really completely convince you that like you're holding a cup in your hand. Like it's just so darn difficult to pull back on your fingers and all the intricate ways you need to actually do to feel like you're holding like an actual physical object that way. But we are a decade away from some of these advances ever being realized. It could take 10, 15, 20 years for some of these things to actually ship. Right now, we're talking about small advancements in field of view in lining up the real world and the physical and the digital world. And there's actually dramatic things that can change just by doing that. And in this headset in particular, Lynx, it's going to be really amazing to see what kind of software gets developed with that great AR pass through that we haven't seen with such a wide field of view so far. So it's that's going to be an amazing moment, but it's going to still be incremental in the grand scheme of things of 20 years.
Yeah. Well, and you've got pass through, you've got a unique lens configuration, you've got things that make this headset unique. So I'll be curious to see. Go green and game on. Kyle, you missed a dad joke. Lynx, Atari games. Yeah, I was trying to find a way to work in an Atari joke, with the Lynx. The Lynx consumed, what was it, like 8 AA batteries, and it lasted like 2 hours. I mean, I'm hoping that the battery life on this thing is a little bit better than that. It
Will
does
that
kind
be
of
one
have
of
a
the
Space
first?
Invader look.
That'll be one of the first apps some hacker will make, is like, the handheld for this headset. So you can
An
have your
Atari emulator. Yeah.
yeah.
That'd be fun. Wouldn't that be cool? That'd be a fun AR thing to have for the Lynx, is like you just put your hands out and then poof, here comes an Atari Lynx.
What
And
if you
then you
hold?
can,
What if you could hold the Steam Deck and have it transform?
oh, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Heaney,
Yeah.
let's
All right.
build that.
Send us the
Fire up
link. If you
Unity. Let's
build
do it.
that, please, tips at
Yeah.
uploadvr.com. We're
Yeah.
gonna do a whole story about that thing.
Heck
Yeah.
yeah. Heck yeah. So I don't know. I think let's see. Onakazi was not responding to the topic of links, but was responding to the whataboutism of announced future products. Well, I mean, that's
Yes.
always the case. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah, there's
always the
there's
case.
always people get excited. It comes in cycles. I mean, we're
Mhm.
constantly always looking what's in the future, and honestly, this month is kind of crazy because I think everyone senses that it kind of like a change is in the air, and these products are crossing a threshold. Kind of, Facebook has been telling us for kind of the better part of a year now that they think VR has crossed a threshold and is heading towards the mainstream, and they've kind of hit a hockey stick moment, I think is the term a lot of them refer to it, when adoption is going to go kind of crazy. And all these headsets being announced in such a short span of time with new devices left and right, there's going to be plenty of products that don't actually ship or ship super late. There's going to be a lot of dashed hopes and broken dreams out there. But this does have a moment, a feeling of being completely different than the thing we had 5 years ago with a PC required, a cell phone required, uh, draining your cell phone's battery in order to slot in VR and have a VR experience for half an hour with a 3 DOF headset. This is different. This is a completely different caliber of moment. The headsets are that much better in 5 years' time. And so it's going to be a very different couple of years here than the one people kind of just feeling whiplash about 5 years ago, I think.
Well, I mean, we're just going through the cycle, just like we did with cell phones. I mean, children, come sit around. Grandpa will tell you the story about how there used to only be one phone, and it was hardwired to the wall, and it didn't take pictures. All you could do, and you didn't even know who was calling when it rang. And
Yeah.
now
Well,
you kids, you 10-year-olds, have $1,000 computers in your pocket. And, we're getting to that point in the VR scenario where this industry is starting to imitate the ebb and flow of the smartphone market. And that's a good thing. That's a positive thing, because that means that the mainstream adoption will continue to occur, and headsets will get better and more powerful, and they'll get expensive, and people will justify the cost, because it's all about value, not about cost. Just remember that.
I like this one. You
Oh
guys used to
man.
hold screens on your hands. Ew. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that because
Yeah.
I think that's what we're noticing right now is because the pandemic has kind of accelerated a change in consumer behaviors, and like we're we're going to be catching up. It's going to feel like the world is different in just a few years in a way that
Yep.
like the last decade is going to look so much different than this decade.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, someday we might not even talk about the metaverse. I mean, that term might go
Wow.
away. I don't know.
Uh,
I don't know. I want to say hi to a few folks. Skiva, nice to see you here in the house. Welcome, welcome. Agent M83, Mr. Man, Setsune W. Yeah, all right. Hi to all of you out there in the live chat. I love watching it go back and forth. A lot of very good and civil discourse. Thank you. It's nice to know that we can have civil discourse like this.
You use your hands. That's like a
Yeah.
baby's toy. Frodo Baggins, Back to the Future Part 2. I love that. Yeah.
It's a baby's toy. Yeah. Wow.
It
Oh, I
is
love
Frodo
that.
Baggins, though. That's
It
brilliant.
is.
That
It
is.
is. It is. Yeah. 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 What was that movie that he was in? Forever Young with Mel
Oh
Gibson.
no, wait. Was he in that one too? I was thinking, was he in the one with the the little radio flyer thing that was very sad? I
Was
can't
he?
remember. Was
I
it?
don't know.
Am
He
I
was also.
misremembering my '90s? I could be misremembering
I
my
can't. I
'90s.
can't remember. I mean, wasn't he in that movie series where he gets a letter that he gets to go and be in a wizard
You guys
castle
know
and
you know I talked to him for this job, right?
really?
I've spoken to Elijah Wood in the role of a VR reporter to talk to him about what was it that he did he worked his company worked on the really creepy kind of like transference, something like that. It started with a T, but someone can pull it up in the comments. But he worked on a
Yeah.
project and it was very very creepy. And yeah, I had to talk to him, tell him yeah that was creepy as heck. Thanks Frodo Baggins for all you do for Mordor and no, sorry for Gondor. I can't believe I slipped up.
The Shire.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's Gandalf? That kind of thing. Hey, it's fun to reminisce about. I put a VR headset on Corey Feldman once. I look it up. It's out there. Look for my name and Corey Feldman. There's pictures of me hanging out with Corey Feldman. He's about this tall. Yeah. We only meet short
His
celebrities in
eyes,
VR. Is
yeah.
that
I
what it
mean,
is?
Elijah Wood
Yeah.
has those eyes. Yeah, those eyes
Yeah.
aren't like
Yeah.
contacts.
What
Yeah,
is Elijah Wood's IPD?
yeah. I
You
didn't
know?
ask. I should have asked.
It's
Should that be the
yeah.
thing I
Is
ask
that a little
everyone?
invasive to ask
Like, I
celebrities what
did
their
talk
IPDs
to.
are?
So I talked to what's his face, the director of Iron Man, what's his face? I can't think of. It's hard to think of
John
these names
Favreau.
live.
Yeah.
John
Yeah.
Favreau. Yeah, I talked to him and
Yeah.
yeah, he had some great comments about Vive. He was clearly very familiar with
Uh-huh.
what you could do with VR hardware in the development of the stuff he's doing, and
Yeah.
obviously VR is so important to the Marvel and Star Wars universe now for sort of visualizing your sets before you actually film your shots.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's so interesting to see what they're doing with the latest Mandalorian sets. You see these giant stages that they're actually able to walk around in and then have kind of the backdrop projected for them mentally, like in the backdrop behind the buildings. It's this incredible sense of like being able to do things with the camera that you can't in old green screens with like just the actors playing against nothing. They can't actually see anything, and it's interesting to think of like uh I've always been wondering like in a couple of years, do you remember Mind Show? Did you ever like the game Mind Show?
I
Remember
don't
that one,
recall
the
it.
one where you could act out the characters in front of the mirror and
Oh,
record a little
right,
movie?
right.
Like
Yeah.
that's that platform that completely went and disappeared, and like it was a cool idea, but could that have a rebirth where like you really can create whole animated movies in VR using nothing but your VR headset? Like yes, you've been able to do that for years now, but it hasn't really taken off, and I'm curious if
Yeah.
it really could in the next
Mind
few
Show, that
years.
was the VR LA, Cosmo and Johnny. That's yeah, they were doing that. Yeah, whatever happened to that? Hi Cosmo, if you're out there somewhere. How you doing? Thinking of you. Huh, that's interesting. Yeah, all sorts of fun applications, isn't there? I
Yep.
mean, yeah, I wonder if John Favreau will pick up one of these Canon lenses and produce some content.
I'd
Let's
be
get
curious if
into
you pick up a Lynx because a Lynx would be a nice fit for visualizing
yeah,
some of your
would be.
sets.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And he can flip it up if he needs to and all that. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this last piece because I'm kind of excited to hear your take on if anything new has come from the last time we talked about this. HTC Vive Flow. The teasers are a flowing. Looks like a lot like yeah, it does. It does look like it's Proton concept. So we saw HTC's latest teaser for its upcoming big announcement shows an almost identical shape to its concept it revealed in early 2020 of this guy here, the Bumblebee headset, as I was calling it. It does look like that might be. Then again, this is maybe we're taking a too big of a a leap here in thinking that, I mean, this is kind of the most generic shape possible.
But it's the bump around the glasses right here. That's
Ah,
kind of the selling. It's the exact outline here, and then you see this clip right here where the earpiece comes across. It has to be like it's such a perfect matchup. Kind of the selling point there. Um, I saw the Panasonic glasses that were so flat and thin. You took a little bit of a sacrifice on field of view, and there might be some ghosting if you go with that kind of like optical path.
mhm.
But you could. So the the thing that we were talking about earlier that you kind of alluded to, Kyle, about a 3 DOF or like a
Passive.
I, yeah, I hate it. I think there's a space between passive and 3 DOF and 6 DOF where you actually give a person 6 DOF comfort to be able to lean around some things while also being a passive media viewer device. If you can combine both of those things, have a passive media viewer device that is 6 DOF comfortable for watching 2D content on a flat screen, like either floating in the room or anchored to a wall, that is potentially a very interesting consumer product that could have,
What do
yeah.
we call this? Is it like, let's see, between 3 DOF and it's not 4.5 DOF because that's another DOF and a half. Is it 3 DOF plus?
It's
Is it?
6 DOF. It's a 6 DOF headset that is focused around 3 DOF content. Like it's or flat
My
screen
head just
content.
exploded.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying though, and I
Yeah.
think you're right. I think this Floton, because it's the proton and the Floton, it may actually be something like that. Like you were saying, is that it's 3 DOF content, but you can still kind of move around a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but the proton is not meant for, like, this doesn't look like it's going to have any level of AR components. It's only going
Uh,
to be VR. Is this their Go? Is this their Go Plus? I
I
mean,
mean, you can see hidden underneath these lenses, there's something you can see.
yeah.
And as long as that's there, you could have, as long as there's tracking and cameras there, you can have pass through and you can have tracking that will ease those comfort issues that were so terrible with the Oculus Go. And I think it's interesting that they call it Go with the Flow. Like, um,
Yeah.
it kind of
To
picks
kind of
up
give you
where
the
Go left
idea.
off, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
and
It's
to be
Go
clear,
Plus.
I really do think I heard so at each Oculus Connect event, I would go and find John Carmack in the hallways answering questions for hours, just anyone that would come up and answering questions about VR, and I would sneak in a couple of questions over those hours. But I swear, I'm pretty sure that there is the belief out there that Oculus Go had a future um, that wasn't realized, where you could have had 6 DOF comfort in a $200 device. And if you could have that, how compelling a device would that be? And by Facebook kind of like focusing on Quest, maybe they missed out on maybe a compelling product that this product beats them to market with, essentially. Like maybe there was a Go Plus or Go 2 that just got axed in favor of focusing on the Quest line since it's such a more compelling short-term win for them. But I guess I want to get on the bandwagon here early in just saying that I think 6 DOF comfort with passive experiences could be a hit. And I'm curious to see kind of like what the eventual Quest without controllers looks like in comparison to what this thing ends up doing.
See, we're really actually having the same conversation we started this stream with
Yeah.
about whether or not 3 DOF content has any value to the industry as a whole, to the mainstream consumer. Because if this is passive in terms of it's not interacting, it's to consume and not to touch things and move things around and play games and stuff, and it's just for consumption, then we're really still having that same conversation. Is the Go, like, there's nothing that stops the Go from still being a viable product right now. Like, they could sell the Go right now to only consume passive content.
I they
But
could, and
yet they
I and
don't. But
honestly,
why
no,
wouldn't Facebook do that then?
well, I mean, I had my own opinions sort of at the time that the gap between the quality of these products was so significant that you're confusing people who go out and end up with a Go when they thought they were getting a Quest.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
and that's
Sure,
there's that sort
market
of issue,
confusion.
like Quest
Sure.
selling off the shelves, and the Go is the only product you see when you actually go to the store. You got the Oculus for your kid, but it's not the right
Yeah.
Oculus.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Hey,
so I thought there
kids,
was
we have
that.
Oculus at home. Yeah.
There was that old joke. I mean, I did directly say that to, I think, Jason Rubin at Facebook, and he was like, "Okay, well, go get your refund if that's what happens to you." So it was a very jokey response. Took it in stride, but like, I think there was confusion there a little bit to some extent. But again, I think it's kind of makes sense to focus in on Quest first, and then come back to the prospect of selling a device without without a controller at all, because of course Go had a controller that was a laser pointer, and that was not great. When it comes back, it should have hand tracking.
Yeah, unfortunately, as a father of 4 daughters, living away from my point of origin, we have had products sent as gifts for my children that were purchased by relatives, grandparents that were, you know, uh, we got Barbie dolls, and we got Play Static instead of PlayStation, and we got, the knockoffs, and in the confusion. I get that. The confusion that could exist in an ecosystem where there's 2 products that, oh, they're both Oculus. This one's 300 and this one's only 100. So I'll just get them that one because it's still an Oculus. And then the kid opens it up and it's like, what am I doing with this? This isn't what I wanted. Now I have
And
a
your
third
developers are
of,
selling for a headset that's gonna,
yeah,
that doesn't have a future as much as this hand controlled interface. And again, everything we've seen here is they're kind of trying to offer developers a path to develop for 6 DoF controllers first as the minimum, and then also to have like a path to hand tracking alone. So like,
right.
it
Right.
seemed like a necessary step to kind of like get rid of the 3 DoF tracker input system and focus a little bit around 6 DoF input.
I've always felt that the Go coming out was an experiment to see if the passive experience would be enough for some people. I mean, I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. I'm sure you don't either, but I mean, there was quite a number of Go's sold, purchased. I mean, it wasn't a flash in the pan and poof, nobody bought it. I mean, people purchased this headset. There was content made for this headset. There was a whole slew of stuff that was ported over so that way you could play this stuff on this headset. Was it a failure? Or was the conceptually was the passive experience just not up to snuff? And if that's the case, then what lessons need to be learned by other folks? If, and we're presuming that the flow is going to be, or I'm going to call it the floaton from now on, if that is a passive experience or somewhere in between what the Go and the Quest offer, I'm interested to see if is HTC trying to capitalize on the Go's success, or maybe even to make more success than what the Go could have potentially had. I don't know.
Yeah, so people in the comments mentioning business use cases for 3 DoF headsets and how big the use case is for an inexpensive 3 DoF headset in business markets. I think it's one of these things about the VR market that I've personally had a very tough time uh, wrapping my head around, is the benefit that you gain from watching a 3 DoF strapped training video is actually pretty significant if it's stereoscopic and super wide angle, you can actually still learn things in that format. Even though for consumers, interactivity and comfort are lacking from that 3DOF, video where you're kind of stuck in place. So like how it's tough to kind of keep in your head both of these realities that for consumers, 3DOF is not comfortable and can make a person want out of their headset after 10 minutes to 10 to 20 minutes. It could make a person that uncomfortable. While also, if you need to go in for 15 minutes of training at your job, the 3DOF headset can actually provide you an affordable way of doing that in a way no other medium can match. And how both those things, like both those use cases, are true and uh, realities of this market at the exact same time is a hard thing for people to grasp. Like the same thing that's awful to wear for 20 minutes could actually be useful for work.
There was a comment here. Jonas Sandstedt says, think the question here of success is not the number of headsets sold, but the hours used. I've been thinking about that quite a bit. The value of a headset, is it dictated by the amount of time you spend in it, the amount of consumption used? Because I think that you could make the argument that if you were intentionally consuming passive stuff, video, um, training stuff, maybe meditation software, I would think that the Go might have had more time used than folks jumping around and doing games and beating their sabers. I mean, you can only do that for so much at a time. I wonder if there's any metrics or statistics that Facebook could share with us. Hint, hint.
I
Nudge,
can't
nudge.
believe you said beating their sabers on our show. That's incredible. What a turn of phrase. All right. So the
I've
thing
said it before.
one of the people, yeah, I know. It's just in the setting of talking about 3DOF versus 6DOF, it's a very fitting thing to bring up.
Indeed.
So the thing I want to talk about is people mixing up 3DOF content and passive content. Like I think we're talking about a few different things here that are getting mixed up. Imagine having access to your Netflix library, your Amazon, whatever your streaming services are. Imagine having a 120-inch screen or something like that that you can hang from any wall, ceiling in your house, anywhere, and it will just hang there on that surface as long as you want that video pinned to that wall. Now imagine also having access to maybe apps or widgets that you could hang on other walls or other places. That's something a device like this might be able to do exceedingly well. And you can still 6DOF, like move around the thing that's hanging from the wall. It'll still look like it's in the correct spot, but you're passively viewing a lot of flat content in that format. I'd be curious if situations like video games where you want to watch or play a video game on a giant screen streamed from another device in your home, if that's going to end up being a big use case for these virtual screens that we're going to have in a couple of years. But like, we always forget that having virtualized screens is one of the key uses of VR headsets, yet they're just not used a whole lot because people don't like wearing these headsets for more than 20 minutes at a time right now.
So I'm going to ask you personally, Ian, how often do you have something on a big screen on your TV, maybe in your living room or your bedroom or whatever, and you choose to get up and move around and do other stuff while that watching experience is happening on a wall or on a shelf somewhere? How often does that really happen?
Well, so I had this experience last night, and it was fascinating because I think it was the first time I'd seen this since the latest version of all the Apple software rolled out to all my devices. But I had my AirPods sitting next to my TV or sitting in my bedroom, and it gave me a pop-up on the Apple TV that said, "Press this button to use your AirPods to listen to your TV." and to listen to your Apple TV. And I was watching Squid Game, and I tried this out. I put the AirPods in and synced them up to my TV, and then hit play, and uh, walked into the other room with my AirPods in, listening to Squid Game playing in the other room. A behavior that I never ever would have done if I didn't have the audio walking with me as I went. And that's the type of thing like I will want to do with VR headsets and AR headsets in the coming years. Like I want to walk with them on my head from room to room and not have to take them off or hit pause on something because I've walked from one place to another. And there's, of course, that software handoff that might eventually happen where, like, imagine it's on your wall, but when you get up, it comes with you and you actually can have it
So a
follow you
three
if you
DOF
do walk from one.
experience. So that would be more of a three DOF experience then.
Yeah.
See, I wonder about, just because we can, should we, type of mentality. So if we want to watch a movie, a passive experience, we don't want to get up and walk away from the screen because we'll miss something, especially if it's something that we've watched. Like this is the first time watching it. I'm wondering if HTC with the Flow is going to themselves saying, when people sit down to watch a movie, they kind of sit down and watch a movie. It's a passive experience. You're not getting up and doing a bunch of other stuff. So maybe, and this is where I wonder about the Go, is why didn't the Go have that oomph in the industry? And I wonder if there's a lesson to be learned here that HTC is just ignoring and saying, no, people do want to just sit down with a bowl of popcorn and the little puck sitting next to them, doing whatever it is that puck does, and float on up some stuff and consume it. I wonder if maybe the industry wasn't ready for the Go, and
Yeah.
the Flow is going to, I don't know.
Well, so it's funny. While you were talking about that, I was imagining this, like, there's a scene in Children of Men, I think I remember, where there's this guy sitting at the table, like just lost in his device that's right in front of him. And of course, it's kind of like the hallmark of the last 10 years is people being lost in their devices while at the table or just hanging around the living room. You have 4 kids all sitting around the same living room, all enveloped in their own flat screen device in front of them. But what's interesting is we've got this new generation of technology like the Watch Together feature on Disney Plus that lets you just send a link to a family or friend, and then it'll sync the playtime to everyone. And if you combine that with kind of like untethering the video itself from the wall, you kind of have this, like, even more. It even sounds even more dystopian right now to imagine it. But imagine kind of like you and family members all watching something at the same time, synced up, but you're actually
He
or
muted.
imagine you're watching the same thing as your family members, but you're all in different rooms of the house, or you're all actually watching it on different screens. One of you is watching it on your glasses as you're walking around the house or cleaning the yard. One of you is in a different location watching the same thing. You're all on the same audio chat and chatting about what you're watching, but you're all not gathered around the same screen at the same time. You're gathered around different screens at the same time. And some of those screens maybe even can walk around with you in new ways. Like that's the behavior change that we're talking about happening in the next 5 to 10 years, I think.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you really think about it, as you were talking, I was realizing your phone is a 3 DOF experience, pinned to
Yeah.
your hand. The screen is pinned to your hand and you move your head around. And if somebody says something to you, you look up, you talk to them, you look back, and it's right there on your hand. Your phone screen is a 3 DOF experience. So maybe with this little wire coming down from this headset, maybe interacting with the phone is part of what the Floton will offer. I don't know. I'm just throwing things out because we don't actually know. We don't know. Is it Daniel says you were censored by Facebook?
Yeah, because I
They
accidentally
muted you.
pressed the I
Yeah.
can't. Yeah, it's just like it has more viewers if like we put censored by Facebook in our YouTube title. Is that how the
Is that
algorithm works? Please
with
share
an
our link. We
exclamation
don't do
mark?
that. Yeah.
Exclamation mark too. You have to put the exclamation mark because that breaking news. Yeah, you got to do that. And the more you have, I keep waiting for the video. It's just exclamation marks across. That number one video on YouTube.
Yeah.
Algorithms, aren't they fun? Aren't they fun? Well, I don't know. There's all sorts of fun conversation. I think the theme today was active versus passive, but we do have this one last little render that may or may not be real.
No, it was posted to LinkedIn by the current head of the company. So I believe this is our first peek at the next Magic Leap device.
hmm.
And
It's just
that
a
was one of
render.
the things like when I came in here to say at the beginning of this that like things are changing rapidly. There's probably going to be a lot more known about this pretty soon, and it was sort of teased right before we came into the studio here. Uh, this is one of just so many headsets. I remember when the original Magic Leap came out, I drove so far to kind of see it and actually see where the hype landed on that thing. And
Yeah.
man, I wonder if this will
Yeah.
be any better at actually taking the
Well,
device outdoors.
here's a simple basic thing that is not, unfortunately, is not being recognized by the industry as a whole as much as I think it should. I'm a huge advocate for this topic. Uh, the 3 times that I have had a Magic Leap accessible to me to use, they are not glasses friendly. I am a bespectacled individual, as is more than 60% of the planet, and I cannot use a Magic Leap with my glasses on, and that is unfortunate. That is very unfortunate. I actually got a pair of contact lenses to put in to be able to try the Magic Leap to get a real, true understanding of how it works. Um, I'm sorry if your headset doesn't allow for people to wear glasses with it, then I have a really hard time supporting your
I love,
technology. It's
yeah,
too exclusive. It's not inclusive enough for me.
yeah. That's one of those things that's being learned by the Ray-Ban
Yeah.
experience. I
Oh
think
yeah.
is just
I'm
how many
very
people need those
disappointed.
prescription inserts and all that for
Yep.
the next phase of this. I love this comment talking about relearning the difference between Magic Leap and Leap Motion. And of course, Leap Motion combined with Ultra Haptics, I think was the name of the company. And so
Sounds
now
right.
Ultra Leap and Magic Leap
Yeah.
are two completely different companies. I was sort of expecting them, since they offer different pieces of the puzzle, Magic Leap should really buy Ultra Leap, and they've become this super merged company called, Super
Ultra
Magic
Magic.
Ultra Leap. Yeah.
Yeah. Ultra Magic Leap. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, we see cameras now seems to be the general thing to do is to put cameras on the sides. That's good. And that seems to be the industry standard now. Cameras on the side. The the bar here leads me to believe that there is some magic and stuff inside of this, and very flat surface here for this.
The commenters are
I,
saying, I think
I,
most of the details are out now. So we'll get in there, and I'm sure that we'll have the latest on this on UploadVR.com very soon.
Yeah, I'm going to predict a 60-degree field of view. Still doesn't support people with glasses. I will. I love being wrong with this sort of stuff when I make predictions and then I find out I was totally wrong. I love it because I'm trying to be pragmatic here and say that this may be another piece of hardware that I cannot wear with my glasses. Yeah. Looks like Paradise Decay is saying the HCC flow just got leaked. Just saw it on Twitter, a website called Protocol. Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
Protocol is assuming that they're well known, they're usually breaking stuff. So yeah, that seems likely.
all right. Well,
We'll go
it
take a
feels
look at
like we
that.
should we wrap up and go
Yep.
see what kind of shenanigans are
Oh
happening
no,
out
how many
on
headsets broke and were announced in just the hour we were in here? That's how
I
quickly
know.
they're reproducing like little gremlins that you poured water
Yeah.
on.
Somebody got it wet. The flow of water landed and got it wet. Okay. All right.
Valve
So
Flow. Wait,
let's
Valve and Flow. Wait, did they name it
Valve Flow.
as a
Wait, what?
wait,
What?
wait,
What?
wait, the
What?
conspiracy.
What?
They do it as a oh.
Are you a replicant, Ian? I think you are. I think you are. I think you are. Do you know origami? Do you know how to do origami?
Oh, that would be fantastic. I should do that. I would do a little crane. Or what does he do? What does he make
I
for
think it's a crane. Yeah.
yeah.
Little bird. Yeah.
No, it's
I
a
know how to
unicorn.
do origami.
It's a unicorn, isn't it?
It is a unicorn, right? It's made out of like a gum wrapper, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, this has all been wonderful and fun, and a lot of really great comments in the YouTube chat. So if you are watching this after it's live, like, subscribe, smash that bell, blah, 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 all that nonsense. But try to catch us live someday. Share it with your friends. Tell your friends to come in. You guys can all have a wonderful conversation here in the chat. Guys, girls, everyone's invited. I think that it would be fun to get like the whole industry, like all of us in the chat for next week. Wouldn't that be fun, Ian?
All of them, like, yeah, just
all of us.
Just have an entire hour and a half conversation about which terms to use, and we'll all just agree and set it all in the past. It'll never be argued again. We'll just set it.
Let's have a consortium, a meeting of the minds. We can all come together and settle it all diplomatically with Ian and I, moderating, because that should be fine. And I'm sure Ian and I will agree with everything 100%.
Yeah.
But anyway, so bring your friends. Come next week, Monday, noon Pacific. Check out VR Download. And in the meantime, don't forget Thursday's show, which is games. I don't know. Are we going to end up having Thursday's show? Because I know there's some other.
So Jamie and Sienna have their hands full with lots of things being shipped to their front door.
Yes, their eyes and heads are full right now.
Yep. Yeah. So there's going to be there's lots of hardware and software for us to get through in the coming weeks, and we're going to have to figure out what sort of schedule we're going to be able to hold inside the studio during this crazy season, because there's a lot of things to get out there for people to ask questions about.
Yeah, so I think it would probably be wise for all of you to keep a tab open in your browser of choice attached to UploadVR.com. Open it up, leave it open, refresh it every so often, because you never know what fun, exciting news is going to break. And Ian will scramble around and ignore my Slack comments, and because he's typing away. He's writing the next wonderful article for you. Yeah, you have control over the camera. You could just set it.
That's right, but I also have control over my head.
But then I steal. See, it's all voice activated.
Actimated?
Yeah. Actimated. Yeah. That's the new headset. The actimated headset. See, here I am. Okay. All right. Well, let's go see what kind of shenanigans are filling our feeds. And yes, so to all of you out there on YouTube land and also on the podcast, thank you very much for watching and listening. We'll see you in the future. Bye-bye.
Oh, I have to end the show. Let's see if I do it quickly this time.
I need arms or elbows, maybe.